All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing this morning? Okay, so it's that time of the month again. Atlanta Real Estate Association releases the market stats, usually about the third or fourth week of every month for the previous month. So I know we're in early July or approaching mid-July. This came out about a week ago, but I couldn't get it in last week. So we're going to look at May's numbers, okay? So keep in mind, there's a delay there. So what you're starting to see in these numbers is even changed and continued since then. So what I wanted to talk to you about is, I guess we could kind of color this as how to not be a tone-deaf agent. Okay, how many of us have been in doing this long enough to where you've had a listing, you received a listing, and the terms in the listing are clearly not in line with what the rest of the world is doing right now? I see hands. To me, that is an agent that probably is doing what they did on the previous deal 6 months ago and on the previous deal a year before that. They don't do enough business to stay on top of what the market trends are. They're not getting coached, trained, this kind of information that you're getting from their brokerage, so they are tone deaf. They have no idea that an FHA offer or a VA offer at or below asking price is just not going to be competitive in this marketplace, okay? So the key is to always be in tune with what the market is doing and to make your recommendations to your client and craft your offers based off of what the market conditions are. So you got to know them. We're going to talk about that, all right? So these are, again, May's numbers. So big picture, doggone it, it doesn't want to do this. I'm changing it here, but it doesn't change up there. There we go, thank you. Okay, big picture. Those are the big numbers. Total sales, 6,800. These are just raw numbers. Average sales price, 518. New listings, almost 9 grand. 1.2 months of supply and median price of 430. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of these. Okay. Before we even go here, let me give you another stat. Atlanta is currently seeing 6% of listings dropping their price. Think about that. How many price reductions have you seen in listings lately? The last year and a half, probably very little to none, unless it was just a complete dog or the agent didn't know what they were doing when they priced it initially. Or what? Or an open door. Or an open door house, yes, that could be too. Sorry, we're not supposed to talk about that out loud. Recordings. All right, so that is a 173% increase since the beginning of 2022. All right, so if that's the case, then what does that tell you about the market? Is it slowing down? It's cooling off a little bit. I think that's a good word descriptively to describe what is going on. If you're talking to a layperson or a client, say it's cooling down. Things are not as hot as they used to be, but it's still a solid market, okay? So 6,800 total sales in the month of May. That's an 8.3% decrease from 2021. Keep in mind, 2021 was in the midst of COVID, so it was pretty bad and ugly then too. All right, the median sales price is $430, a 19.4% increase from 2021. This is all of FMLS, okay? So, I mean, think about those numbers. Did y'all find it as impactful as I did when what Greg said yesterday when he was talking about offsetting? Yeah. This is really telling, okay? So 19.4%. You got a house that's valued today at $100,000. 1 year from today, it's going to be roughly $120,000. That's dramatic. That's significant. Okay, and this is the number that all the economists are projecting for all of the real estate industry is going to be around 8 to 10% increase. I think Atlanta typically outtrends the rest of the market, so you're probably going to see something north of that, in my opinion. Okay, so the average sales price, I know I ask this every time, but there's new people in here every time. What's the difference between average and median?
Average is you add them all up and divide by the number. Median is you lay them all out on the table and whichever number's in the exact
In the exact center, exactly. Which is the more accurate for you to use in your illustrations? Yeah, whichever one serves your purpose the best. More than likely, it's probably going to be the average, just because everybody thinks average. And if you quoted the average number instead of the median number, they're going to be really, really close. So it's not that big of a deal, all right? Months of supply is how long the inventory would last that we currently have if no additional homes went on the market today. And that answer is, it was on the main page there, but 1.2 months of supply, and that's up from less than 1, which is what you see in that little gap between January and March. In February, apparently it was below 1, and they don't even recognize that as a legitimate answer. Okay? So this is your new listings. I love to see an increase here versus where we were in 2021. So almost 9,000 new listings. You can see how it's trended up from the previous month and roughly trending right around the same time as March. So still a solid, solid market. Active listings, love seeing an increase again from last year, 8,000, roughly 8,100, so 9.5% increase. Now, this is telling y'all. All right, this is coming from a totally different stat, but it's all within FMLS, and you can access this through InfoSparks. This is the median percent of the last list price. Okay, so the ratio of sales price to the list price is what we're looking at right here. All right, notice it has gone from 100 and let's say roughly 101.7 down to just over 100% of the asking price. Okay, that's the first time we've seen a decrease in a long time. So what does that tell you?
Less bidding wars.
Fewer bidding wars. What else?
Then you don't have to overbid anymore. Less competition.
So there's still competition. To me, what it tells me, just like Lanier said, is there's less bidding wars. I think personally buyers are becoming more intolerant of what they're hearing of, you got to pay 20% over asking price and just ridiculous terms and no inspections, waive all contingencies. I just think that there's a growing intolerance for that amongst the buyer field right now. And I think we're seeing that in the numbers, and I think we're seeing that in the attitudes and the things we're hearing from our clients.
Thing that I feel like I've kind of run into is that some places it's still pretty high, right? Like you're talking about really good school zone, newer homes type thing. And then you have some other places where you see that they're still trying to price these houses super high, and then it's not really working. I know it's case by case,
yep.
For each one. But I know for me, it was kind of tough knowing how the market's shifting, but still looking in some of these hot areas and just trying to figure out, okay, I still want to get this house under contract.
Yeah.
How should I approach this?
And so what is the answer to that?
Well, I mean, still showing the numbers, and it's like, hey, this is just what we're seeing right now. So if you really want the house, you can be aggressive, but just know what's going on and what could happen. And then, yeah.
Sure. Lanier?
I'm finding, just anecdotally, that it's really price point specific too. The higher price points,
yep.
Way less tolerance or anything less than perfect condition. We're not overpaying. Lower price points, I got outbid for 2 or soon 3 in like the 200 range just because investors are still eating that alive.
Yep.
So when it gets above 5, it seems like things are really putting the brakes on it.
I agree with you. So to answer the question that I was probing him for, it seems how we were going there, is this emphasizes to me the importance of our jobs as a trusted advisor. Because the market is changing so quickly, and you can't just continue to do what you've done in the past and expect that to be the same, expect the results to be the same. So every home that you are pricing, that you are doing, the importance of doing your CMA and your due diligence to evaluate, one, the market conditions, and two, what's happening locally, and looking at the comparables. You got to do a much deeper dive, because the last thing you want to do is advise your client to overbid for a house that they could potentially get under asking price. And if you have just continued to do what you did before, that's a serious danger to you, and it's bordering on malpractice from our perspective, okay? So never just continue to do what you did before, overbid. Okay, I think 102% sounds about right. It could be 98, you don't know. You've got to do the homework. Ami.
I think I was making that mistake too as the market was starting. I was working with buyers looking around at 300, and I kept telling them, the market is so competitive, you need to outbid, you need to pay this, just to find out those homes are sitting on the market longer and they had a chance to negotiate. So I found that by talking to the agent, I can pick up some points, and I had somebody under contract, and I asked for closing costs. At first I was scared to ask. I asked, and they did offer it, and they've been very, very compliant to everything we've asked. So there's leverage for buyers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of stuff happening in the marketplace. We have our own agents here that have listings that they took overpriced, and they're now paying paying the piper for doing so. In fact, I think we've lost at least one that I can think of because it was just ridiculously overpriced. Okay? All right, good information, helpful information. It's all readily available through, I'll share this on Workplace so that you guys can have access to that. But the thing that is really, really telling to me is the amount of people, the amount of homes that are going in over asking price is really quickly normalizing and dropping back down. So don't get caught behind the power curve in that respect. All right, let's go to work, everybody. Have a good one.